Hello, my people. This is Truth Unbelievable, and I just wanted to come on here and kind of give a synopsis of what went on with my daughter's sperm donor. And my daughter's father, when we met, he's very handsome and very charismatic, and he's very talented and smart when it comes to certain things. But when it comes to practical life and practical things and common sense and doing right by women, he is totally lost. On a scale from 1 to 10, he gets a 0 in that department. I mean, when he has the choice to do right or wrong, he chooses wrong. So, anyway, my daughter's father, we were together for 4 years. And, he cheated on me. He strangled me on 3 occasions. Was I dumb and naive for staying? Yes, I was. I broke up with him. Anytime there was an altercation like that, I would change my number and somehow he would get in contact with me and beg me back. He would tell me all of these things that was wrong with him, and it was alcohol, and he was going to stop drinking. So, like many of us women do, I would give him another chance and give him another chance. He begged me to have a baby. Let's see, when we were 3 years into the relationship, I told him I didn't think it was a good idea, even though I was getting older. I'm in my mid-30s, so I was getting older. So, and we had a lot of things in common as far as artsy stuff, because I sing and write music, and he sings and writes music, and both our family was from the country, and things like that we had in common, growing up in the church. And so, not to mention he's fine. My daughter's sperm donor is fine. He's all right now. He ain't all that now. But at the time, I thought he was fine. And as I stated before, he's very charismatic. But, I work with him. He was back and forth to jail. And I worked with him. Every time I would leave him alone, I even moved to another state. This last time, and he came to where we were. I moved with my small baby to be near my family, because this guy was not, when I was pregnant, he was argumentative. No matter how happy times were, he would drink. And he ended up telling me that he deals with depression. He ended up getting diagnosed bipolar, schizophrenic. I mean, this dude has a lot of stuff going on with him, okay? I know that he is a narcissist as well. Now I know this. To make a long story short, when he came to live with us, he didn't even last 2 months. you know, and he wanted to put his hands on me. He wanted to drink every day. You know, I go to take this guy to the library to put in applications, and I double back because I said, you know what, I should check out some books for the baby. And when I double back, he's outside flirting with, I'm talking about, this girl was so frumpy looking. Her teeth were yellow. He outside flirting with her. On his way walking to the store to get a beer. And he's supposed to be inside the library looking for a job. So, you know, different instances kept coming up. I mean, every time in the past where I would find him talking to another woman in his phone, or oh my gosh, it's so much. The woman would be so nasty and dirty and raunchy looking. I think one of the last people I saw him flirting with in his phone was a transgender. I can't prove it because every time I tried to call the person, their phone was disconnected. But me and my friends think it was a transgender. And even when I confronted him with the picture about this person he was flirting with over the phone, and I told him that it was a transgender, he didn't deny it. Not to mention this guy's back and forth in jail. I mean, it was too much going on. But the main thing was he was abusive. And I'm not going to have that around my daughter. Our daughter is small, you know, so as she grows up, you know, she won't remember the things that she has witnessed. One of them, you know, I was holding my daughter on the bed, and I was just discussing with him that it wasn't going to work anymore, and that we were going to have to go our separate ways, and he was going to have to find somewhere to stay. And he jumped on me on the bed and made our daughter flip off of the bed. You know, so anyway, needless to say, he had to go. So he left and found him somewhere else to stay. He calls me 2 weeks later and says, you know, I want to bring you some money. I want to see the baby. I'm going to put some money in your account to help you. And, you know, I just want to see the baby. I want to see how y'all doing. So, of course, like a good mother, you know, I'm not going to keep my child away from her father unless I absolutely necessarily have to, which I do now. I have a protective order for my daughter and I. But he comes to the house, he stays for a couple hours, and when it's time for him to go, he flips on me for no reason. I mean, I done made this guy something to eat, you know, and I stay in a nice house for, you know, for two people, myself and my baby, you know. So he was feeling some kind of way, I guess, you know, for not being able to live here anymore. But that's not my fault. You know, you're a grown man, you know, you have these issues, alcoholism, mental personality disorders. That's on you. That's not on me. You know, I tried. You know, for 4 years I've tried. I've had your back. Brought the baby to come see you, visit you in jail. Ain't nobody got time for that. You know, I'm a professional. And, you know, since I've got him out of my life, you know, I can focus on me and what I need to do for my daughter and I, because I know that there's a better life out there for me. And the Most High God does not want anyone subjugated to abuse. You know, and one reason why I was so prone to stay with him was because I grew up with psychological abuse in my family. and some physical, but mostly psychological. So, you know, now I'm older, and, you know, as you get older, you come into the realization of certain things, you come into certain knowledge, and you grow. My daughter's dad was regressing as I was progressing. As I was doing things to move forward and take us to new levels, he was retracting back. And, you know, I have a daughter to be an example to, and I have an obligation to keep her safe. So, getting back to the story, because I do tend to veer off. I apologize about that. But I do tell a lot of detail in my stories. But, you know, my daughter's father, when it was time for him to leave that day, then he started coming after me with a cane in his hand. He knew that I had been in a car accident. We were both in a car accident a couple weeks prior to this incident, but he didn't care. He knew I was having back problems and still sore from the accident. You know, this man was speeding and totaled my car in a 25-mile-per-hour zone, which is a whole nother story. But so it was time for him to go, and he comes after me with this cane. And so, you know, he has trapped me in the house before, and I did not want that to happen. So what I did was I walked across the street to the neighbor's house, because I thought, well, surely he's not going to beat me up in front of the neighborhood, you know, at the neighbor's house, you know, or hit on me, really, is what I was thinking, because he's never, like, hit me in the face, punched me, or anything like that. As I told you, he has strangled me before. He's hit me in the back before, but he's never, which is bad enough. I'm not making any excuses for it. But I told you he used to beg. He would beg and beg and beg for me to take him back. And at the time, I was weak, and I had Stockholm Syndrome. So I took him back. But, you know, so he follows me. He beelines onto the neighbor's porch, where I'm knocking on the door and ringing the doorbell for help. You know, my daughter's in her playpen at this time in the house. I wasn't going to get trapped in there with him because, I mean, my daughter's dad is big and tall, and I wasn't going to do that. You know, I had a better chance if I was outside of the house and could get help than being trapped in the house with him. So he beelines onto my neighbor's porch and starts wailing on me, and ends up fracturing my nose. So, I have to go to court soon, actually, for the incident. And, you know, it was unfortunate. He didn't stop beating on me until the neighbors finally answered the door, which took a couple minutes. It seemed like forever. But I just made this video to talk about how toxic people and people who are beneath you, and, you know, I used to didn't talk like this, but there are actually people who are beneath you and not worth your time. How they will hurt you when you don't want to deal with them anymore. You know, I previously made a video about the young lady, I believe it was in Florida, that was driving on the highway with her ex-boyfriend on the hood because he wouldn't leave her alone, and she was on the way to pick up her daughter. You know, and she was talking about how he just wouldn't leave her alone. She had broke up with him, and he wouldn't leave her alone. And that's what we have out here now. A majority of black young men, I would say 35 years old and under. The majority. I'm not talking about all, because I know there are some awesome black men out there who are taking care of their families, who are responsible and everything like that. But we know statistically from 72% of black households being led by the woman, that the majority of men are not in place. And so I would even go so far as to say 40 and under, because we all know about that Facebook killing of the young lady who was Facebook living, and her ex-boyfriend came in the house with that big gun. He had her hostage in the house, and she was basically pleading for help on Facebook Live, and he said, "Oh, you want to be famous," and shot her in the head. I believe she had 3 children as well. But we're seeing this over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's an epidemic in the black community. We as black women have to not settle. You know, I know that, what's his name? Steve Harvey told you to lower your standards. Don't have your standards so high. But if you want to live and if you want to thrive, you're going to have good standards. I'm not saying the man has to be a doctor. He don't have to be making 6 figures. But he at least he needs to have a college degree. He needs to have a career. You know, at least if he doesn't have a college degree, he should be striving towards something. He needs to be better in his life. Is he working on his own business? I mean, what is he doing to better his life? If he's not doing something major to better his life and better his income, which most black women are doing, we're doing things to better our income for our children. If he's not doing it, if he's not matching you, you can't talk to him, because as soon as you talk to someone who doesn't have a driver's license, who doesn't have a car, who doesn't have his own place, as soon as you do that, then automatically you're looked at as a threat, and you're looked at as someone that he can use. And when you get tired of him mooching off of you and draining you emotionally and physically, sometimes financially, a lot of times it's financial as well. When you get tired of him draining you and you want to move on, then they want to kill you, or they want to fight with you. And you know, when my daughter's father was leaving, after the neighbors had opened the door, after he brutally attacked me, he told me if he went to jail for what he did, he was going to come back and kill me and my daughter. Now, we live in North Carolina, and I hear that when it gets hot, these people with personality disorders start acting real crazy. As I stated before, he's never hit me in my face before. If he had, he would never have gotten another chance. Shouldn't have gave him another chance before, and I know that. So you don't have to come in the comment section telling me you should have never stayed with him and this and that. I've already told you that I had Stockholm Syndrome. So we're past that now. And, you know, I just wanted to make this video to tell the women who have gone through the same thing or are going through the same thing that you're not alone, and you need to get out of that situation. You need to get out of the situation safely. If you need to move and you need to go into a domestic violence shelter, then that's what you need to do. But it's time out for these jarhead, low life, as the great liberators call it, mush mouth, deadbeat, smooching ass black men to keep it fucking moving. Keep it moving, you know. And I know that there are women that also use men out there, but I'm mainly focused on women being used by men, because that's mainly what's going on. The men, majority of men in the black community are out of place. And you know, a lot of them, if they do become successful, then they want a white woman or you know, they want to be single and free and have multiple women. So, you know, it is hard out here for young, intelligent black women such as myself to find a husband. But of course your husband has to find you, and you have to be ready for him. And the only way that you're going to be ready is if you keep these low-life mushmouths, deadbeats out of your life. So I just want to encourage you, and I would say the same for any black men who are moving forward in your life and going forward and you know, going to school and furthering your life and furthering your chances of having a great career and being able to travel the world and do things that you want to do. If you have a woman that ain't doing nothing, you need to get rid of her too. It's time for us as the black community to divest out of deadbeat people and people who don't want to move forward in their life or do not have the mental capacity to move forward in their life. Some people belong in prison. My daughter's sperm donor is one of them. He has a history of beating women all over the United States. And I just praise the Almighty God that he's out of my life. So I just want to let you all know, especially my ladies out there, that you can make it. You can make it. You know, and don't let anyone make you feel bad about using government assistance to move forward in your life, because the men are not in place. And if you need government assistance temporarily to move forward in your life, that's what it's there for. Our forefathers and foremothers shed their blood, sweat, and tears. And that is the least of what is owed to you, is help from the government. If your child's father is not there doing his duty. So if you have to use child support, if you have to have food stamps, you know, if you have to have these type of things to move forward, then that's what you do. The video is getting ready to cut off. I got to charge my phone, but I just want to say peace, and we'll talk soon.